So Arlene called up and asked me about whether I had experience, I think, with standards and could help with finding out more about what was going on in a standards committee, an international standards committee that was trying to include an external candle ignition requirement in a standard that would affect televisions and audio-visual video equipment, and would have required an additional 1.7 billion pounds of flame retardants to be added to electronics worldwide on an annual basis. There was significantly higher levels of these flame retardants in the bodies of Americans than bodies of other of people in other countries, because actually the standards in the U.S. For televisions in particular required flame retardants in the enclosure, the casing applications for televisions. So being involved with standards at the time, and heavily involved with the American National Standards Institute, in fact, I said, "Oh, sure, this sounds like fun." And I didn't really, because I was very actually concerned that somebody would try to manipulate a standards organization. So I had to find out more about this through research done by Arlene and her crew, as well as my own research. I found that a lobbyist who had worked for the Tobacco Institute was lobbying for the flame retardant industry. It was a lobbyist for the flame retardant industry, and had actually started this organization that was on the United States Technical Advisory Committee for this safety standard. The organization, the National Association of State Fire Marshals, had, it seemed, been threatening members on this committee, because being the fire marshals, that's supposedly a very credible organization, right? They'd make the point to their boss that they weren't they weren't really considering safety. They would show their products on fire and essentially make their lives difficult, if not get them fired. So these people were quite terrified. This is not how you typically run the deliberations in a standards body, through threats and stuff. Anyway, the committee was going to vote on this in April of 2008, and I got up and I spoke, and I explained that the National Association of State Fire Marshals was, in fact, not a legitimate organization. They were a tool of the flame retardant industry, being managed by Peter Sparber, who was the lobbyist for Chemtura, and all the manufacturers voted against it. Some of the test houses voted for it. Chemical companies voted for it. And it was defeated in the U.S. committee. After that, the manufacturers in the U.S. committee contacted their colleagues, along with Arlene and her amazing network of NGOs around the world, contacted other similar bodies in other countries, and told them what happened, and that resulted in the death, essentially, of this idea in this particular standard. I was very angry that I had to do this, and I did have to do this. Nobody else was going to do this. It really upset me that these sort of shenanigans were going on. In fact, it was infuriating. But ultimately, we were proven right, and certainly we were vindicated by the Chicago Tribune's 2012 expose of the fire retardant industry and their methods, because they had been using those methods on others as well, not just the electronics industry. The Green Science Policy Institute, which grew out of this process, has really been an invaluable part of the overall need to raise the awareness of where these toxic substances are used, how they're used, and how we can stop their use, get them replaced, do something differently. Because there's been inadequate pressure, certainly in the United States and worldwide in general, to pressure manufacturers to obtain the knowledge and insight necessary to build products that are cleaner, less harmful, and safer for humans and the environment.